Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lorelines. Fowl and Hawk speaking. Today we have episode 55 discussing the newest Alliance raid, Aglaia. I absolutely loved this series of encounters. To me, this entire patch has been an expression of pure joy after a long, long journey trying to save the entire goddamn universe. So I really loved it. With that, I'm welcoming the cast here today and all of our viewers. Thank you for coming. And Cobran, would you like to speak on what they just witnessed?
So yeah, that was a little something I put together, just because I thought it'd be cool. I really love this raid, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
He worked on it immediately after our last episode. Like, he immediately was like, Azema? Heck yeah.
The spirit of Azema took full control over him. And
The fire.
The fire.
Cobran's been
Fire.
working.
Well,
He's been working on these kind of animations, and he's starting to really get it down. That looked amazing.
Yeah, it did.
Thank you.
So we have a
Yeah,
full cast today.
Yeah.
Oh, continue. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Azema's pretty hot.
Yeah, she is. I'm waiting for
Hey,
Nofika, to
fun.
be honest.
I think we all have our favorites, and certainly she is one.
The Matron's
patron.
Bounty.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go by elemental associations, Nalthal is known to be hot as well.
Nalthal is hot as well.
Yep,
Indeed.
as the
He is
Twitter
hot
enough.
as my Twitter feed will attest to.
Oh, absolutely. I see
Same.
nothing but those two all the time, and it's so wonderful.
It's lovely.
They are extremely charming, even if you don't have
It
the
seems-
thirst.
Yes, I've seen some very cute ones with Barrack too, like Warriors of Light doing crafting, and he just comes by and does a little
Yeah.
busting and a high quality or whatever. Very cute.
I think I said
I
this
love how
last week.
people have
Oh, go ahead.
played with it. No, I was just saying I love what people have done with the with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I said this last week, but I think Byragot needs to skip leg day. It's a bit much.
I mean,
Nah.
Rolger's the ones that should have, like, thunder thighs.
That's true.
They can all have thunder thighs as a treat.
It's a treat. Well, yeah, here we are. How do we want to start off today? I know that
So
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we can start at the beginning with the name Aglaia, 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 whatever. It's actually one of the three charities, so it actually is something from Greek. And there's two others, which is kind of perfect for a three-part raid series, with Euphrosyne and Thalia being the other two.
So
Yeah,
we're
it's-
definitely expecting those to be the next two raids.
Yes.
So where did we start here? Let's go back to the beginning on where we started with the quest series and all that, because you actually started you actually were able to obtain the prerequisites for it early on.
Yeah,
After
that's
we
right.
got back from Azadal's with Graha.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
it was mentioned that Crowd mentioned that she needed help with another matter, basically.
She left it as unhype as possible because she
Yeah.
knew that Graha really wanted some bro time. Please! That face. Please!
Well, he's definitely getting his brand new adventure unlike anything else. they've ever
Yeah,
done.
like I feel like every patch now we're gonna have a moment where Graha just nerds out over a new adventure, and it's great.
I read about you in a book and now we're friends. Ah!
Yeah.
I want to be there when I tell him no.
Oh no, don't do that. Don't break his poor cat boy heart. My heart.
I don't know. Denial's good for the soul.
Yeah, it builds character.
It builds character.
Depression, so he
Yeah.
can become the next end singer.
Oh no.
Oh my.
That's a
The
thought.
mental image I just got, dear God.
The giant Graha head boss.
or at least the next Emmett Selk.
Oh my goodness.
Just a bunch of
And so it
floating
comes
elegant
full
eyes.
circle.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
12,000 years trying to get the Warrior of Light to notice me.
it's
Now
just
I know
a
what
fusion
Xenos
between
feels.
it's a fusion between him and Ali. Say they just create the Warrior of Light fan club. And just,
Oh my gosh. That would be a hilarious like joke raid. Can we get that in Hildebrand, please?
Yo,
I actually
heck
really
yes.
would love that.
let's not deviate from this too much.
I
We
don't
go-
know.
I'm easily distracted.
Yeah,
Me too.
exactly.
Rip.
We're going to Mordona here,
Yeah.
and we meet this guy named Derrick.
Derrick is sus.
Incredibly.
First we meet the Opo, but then we meet Derrick, and I don't know. Does anyone find him strange to begin with?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
From the beginning, I was like, "What's this dude's deal?"
He
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
like he seems like the wandering sort. if
He
you know what I
does.
mean.
Yeah,
And
we
he
know
just
what you
came
mean.
out of nowhere.
If
He
you know what
makes
we
me
mean.
think of the trope of like, you know, a deity trying really, really, really hard to be human, but
Mhm.
failing very miserably at doing so.
He
Exactly.
wasn't awful.
Well,
He
even
was,
down to the
at
dress.
first, I was just like, "It's a little weird," and then I was like, "Okay, no, there's something going on."
Yeah, why are you
They
dressed
all
like
seem
someone from
very,
the Evil East raids?
Mhm.
What's going on?
They all seem very bad at acting.
Yeah.
Jenny in chat says Derrick is totally normal. It's the Opo you need to worry about. I think they might be right.
I think they're
Yeah.
both of the two. I think they're the 11 and 12 o'clock.
How do you
I-
do, fellow mortals?
Right?
I think that Derrick is Oshan. How about you guys?
Oh yeah,
He looked a
absolutely.
lot like
It would-
Oshan on the card.
Yeah, it would make sense. And if you look in the lore book, the Wheel of the 12, Oshan is the very last one, which would make sense.
Yes, I actually had noticed I was going to bring that up and I forgot. Thank you for remembering.
Mm.
You just followed around from where we began. It's like,
I
He also
started thinking
seems
about
like
this
he would
immediately.
he also seems like he would be a good candidate for like someone they would send out to like fetch us from the world.
Yeah.
And, like,
Something like
bring
that.
us to the
honestly, he
town.
might have been wandering the whole time while everyone else was chilling at home.
Yeah.
I would see that. That's sort of the impression we got because he talks a lot about like, oh, being on his own or whatever, you know.
He does. Wondering if I can find the actual chart.
That would be a really good convocation and ASM parallel too.
Indeed.
Page 16.
So
There we go.
we talked to him for a bit. He kind of describes that what his kind of the job that he asked Tataru for some help with, and we go down to the shore of Silvertier, and he mentions that we're able to cross the water into another plane of not of existence, but like he describes another. I don't know. How would you describe this?
The Phantom Realm!
Phantom
Woo!
Realm.
Yeah. Sort of like a parallel universe doesn't quite work because they're the same world, but it's like layered over top each other. I don't know. There's a term and I'm just blanking on it.
There is.
Phased, maybe?
Kind of like that.
Not quite.
Yeah,
That's not quite it.
there's a term, but it's really hard. It's really specific.
Yeah. Like they called it they called it the Phantom Realm or whatever, but it was like they kind of also alluded it was overlapped on reality, like just a few inches scooted to the left almost. And that you could see the Crystal Tower from there.
Displaced.
Displaced. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. That's a good term for it. I was struck. I had trouble getting my brain around this because when you go into the Alliance raid like properly, even just in Omphalos, to be honest, the amount of vastness beneath the structures, I can't imagine that Silvertier is actually that big. That's shockingly huge. And so either there's a scaling issue, or this is a little bit outside of reality. That was what my impressions
We
were.
were
Well-
dead set too upon like what was underneath Silvertier,
Yeah.
and so we're at Silvertier, and suddenly we're hoping that we're going to go beneath it, but instead we go over it. Go ahead, Arden.
Well, I was gonna
Basically-
say you have to remember 1.0 Mordona was absolutely gigantic, and we
was.
know that the world isn't to scale at all. You can see that just from looking at the globe from
It's
being
true.
on the moon.
It also makes more thematic sense for us to go to what is essentially Mount Olympus rather than down beneath a lake.
Well,
Well,
we
I mean,
had
there
that
could
as
still
our
be something down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've seen heavens, we haven't seen hells yet.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that gate at the end of Omphalos, the one that's like in the back that's a little upraised, is probably the one that leads to the hells.
I'm kind of guessing the same because it's that or it leads to some other seventh heaven, but I feel like this is the central area is more like a seventh heaven.
And ironically enough, this is kind of skipping ahead to the 12 themselves, but they actually cast the hells on you as
Mhm.
some of their casts.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Malthal specifically.
just a little addition. We know from MSQ that Omphalos means navel, but it also just means the center or hub of something. So this is like the center region where the hells would be below and the heavens above. That would make sense to me.
Yeah,
Ah.
and it really does mean navel in
Yeah,
Greek.
it
But
does.
if I recall, Derrick is the one who named it that,
Yeah.
which just
Oh, I
makes
just
him
named
even
it.
more sus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cobran was saying. So you're speaking the language of the ancients in naming this, huh?
Yes.
What's going on? What's going on?
And we asked him that before we actually walk across the water and enter too. Like, have you been in here before? And he's like, oh yeah, I've gone in and explored and all that, several
Mm.
times, quite often. And we're like, huh?
Big
Mm-hmm.
But then he claims he never actually found any like living beings on the inside until
Mm-hmm.
you see show up and
mean-
are like, "Hi, we're the 12."
It's possible that the 12 are like constructs, in which case he's not lying.
So we talk with him for a moment. He walks across the water and we watch him disappear. We kind of get stunned for a bit, and we just walk with Graha. We just shrug and walk with Graha into the pocket dimension, a other plane of existence, whatever you want to call it, into this place called Omphalos. And it's very pretty.
Kind of reminds me of right before the trial with Lothri, honestly.
Huh.
You mean like not the trial, but the dungeon?
Right after the dungeon, when you can run around the little holding area.
Oh
Mhm.
right, yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
reminds
The
me of
one that
that.
leads up to the one that leads up there. Yeah.
That's right. So
I'm going to show some gameplay footage while
we
we're
find
talking.
a structure at the center there, and there is an aetheryte-like object there. We cannot attune to it just yet. Interesting structure there, and we see around us kind of all four, just like I think there's 4 structures with images, not of the 12 yet, but just different circles. And at the far back there's like a pantheon type structure there too. I'm just kind of describing what's all is in Omphalos, and I
Yeah,
think
Fal's going there right now.
Nice.
Just for the benefit of all.
And then the gods come out and they say, "We're gonna take over the world because Heidelin's gone, and there's nothing you can do to stop us."
There's some dialogue before then too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're noting that like all the structures are kind of weird, and it seems like deathly quiet.
The structure at the center too, where the aetheryte is, has depictions of the 12 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Don't they? I'm trying to remember if they light up once we. I don't think they do. I'm just imagining it.
I don't think
yeah,
they
there's
do.
more
The
than
only
4.
thing that lights up are those pedestals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very bright, and then there's the crystal tower in the distance.
What I would do for exploration mode for Aglaia, though.
Yeah, that'd be really nice to have.
Yeah.
But I understand why they don't. There are some errors in there that if you look too hard, you'll find them.
Is that true? What are you thinking of?
Yeah, don't turn around after defeating Azema.
Uh-huh. Okay.
just run straight.
So you're saying don't look back?
Yes. No,
Never
don't
look back.
Discover secret mechanic where if one person looks back, the entire raid turns
Oh my
into
God.
salt.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
Ah.
Look at the if you're watching the gameplay footage, look at the relative scale of the crystal tower beyond the mountains versus the dome over here.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff, I know it's hand.
We're not big, are we?
Yeah, hard to say.
I mean, could have been shrunken down.
Yeah, so that means someone in chat had said that geographic scale is kind of hand wavy, so they don't take much stock. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
I like it when they
Accurate.
put an
Very much
effort
is.
in. Just slight sidebar. I think the most comparatively similar scaling to 1.0's aesthetic is probably chocobo racing. And that sounds very
If you-
silly.
If you look
Yeah.
But if you take
carefully
a
around
race and
here-
you're rolling past Costa del Sol, you'll it feels more immersive. You know, you can tell that that's probably what appropriate scaling would look like.
you can see little, almost like minions, almost little creatures, just kind of wandering around too.
Mm-hmm.
in
Oh
the
yeah,
area.
I noticed some of those before we found out that they could turn into those, and I was like, oh, this is cute and odd.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, who are you?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
already
I
suspected the
probably-
Oppo, right? But then we
I-
get
Mhm.
actual explanation.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
Like, I found the rock one. I was like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
While Fal, you're running around, I do want to point out that the little gazebos, I don't know what else to call them, the colors of them correspond with the elements,
Yep.
and it
Yes.
also corresponds with the wheel of the 12.
yes.
So
Yeah.
people are saying there's two theories right now based on what we've seen about who we're going to fight next. A lot of people think that because the wheel goes around Omphalos, that we're just going to continue it and go around the wheel the same as the 12,
Mhm.
which would mean that Menfina would be the next final boss, or that it's going to be the city-state deities, meaning that Nofika would actually be the next boss for Gridania, or Limlane for Limsa.
I'm a
Based on
fan
the
of the
song.
wheel theory myself. It just seems to fit.
They're already in
We'll
order.
see.
So we've got, we
I
have
like things in
Barrack,
order.
Ralgar, Azema, Naldthal. And then it's Nofika, Althik, Halone, Menfina.
I mean, either way, we win because we're gonna get
Yes.
Matron Steeds next raid, so it's gonna be great.
We're gonna actually,
God.
we're gonna have at least 2 ladies every
Yes,
time.
we are.
Nice.
It's pretty
I
exciting.
can't escape from the thirst from these guys. I swear.
So if we're positing on who the Oppo is, I fell on Althik. What do you guys think? There's this thing going on in my head about monkey deities, and I don't know if I can quite place it.
I mean, I actually kind of thought, and I mentioned that the little rock elemental minion thing that I saw. I thought that might actually be Althic
Oh yeah.
initially, given the
who's-
elemental.
who else
stuff,
is in
the
play,
elemental
right?
association.
So I think that the Oppo being a deity is actually not far-fetched at all. My theory, based on what we've seen, after you complete the raid, you do the quest, you see Ralgar come down, he turns into a hawk, and then, or no, sorry, it's Spriggan and a hawk. Barrack's the Spriggan, Ralgar's the hawk, and it really reminded me of Four Lords, like a lot, where after living 100 years, 1,000 years, and even in the lore book, it says that animals develop a spark of divinity, and it reminded me of what Barrack said. Witness the power of the divine. So if you live 10,000 years, what does that look like? It probably looks something like the 12.
So you think they were animals and then became gods?
Yes, that's exactly what I think. But
That would
I
be
think,
interesting.
based on what I've seen and all the Greek influence, I think that what we're seeing is animals that didn't get sundered and then just developed into auspices, which explains their long life, why they're not going crazy, and where they get all this influence from. And Heidelin, let Emmett slip through the sundering. There's no reason to think that she wouldn't let the 12 slip through as well, in order to protect the realm that she had on the source.
Yeah, since she had future hacks and knew what was going to happen.
I also think, given at first I was like, well, maybe the Oppo is just a monkey, maybe it's just a cute little lad, but for two things stand out to me that make me think that's not the case. One, well, I'm not going to name it. I don't know what its name is. It's a secret. And two, when we all leave, and I think it's Kryl is left alone at the Omphalos to check things out there. He actually tells it, "Here, little guy, why don't you stay with her so she's not lonely?" And I'm like, they want eyes on her.
Yes, exactly.
So it could be a red herring, 100%. But those two things make me sort of scratch my head and go, I don't know.
Althic is a keeper. That's funny. You know what's gonna happen then? Alexander 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Oh no! Please no.
Oh no!
Nabrialis too?
Let's all do the time stop again.
Nabrialis too.
what I'm hoping for.
Bahamut saying, meta-narratively speaking, the Opo is Chekhov's monkey.
Chekhov's
nun,
monkey.
meaning that in Act 3, the monkey's going to explode.
Oh my god.
It's pretty bananas.
Well
if you
said.
think
It's
about it.
pretty bananas.
Oh god.
That's a triple
We
play,
finally
everybody.
go through the portal and
I'm like
it's
Foul
just a
right now,
fucking
just-
monkey there.
Fling me off that balcony.
Just jump. I'm out of here. Tenebrae in chat said the 12 were just the convocations on Sundered Pets.
There's a
mean,
hair
we-
there too.
You know, you mentioned animals before, but something just occurred to me. What's the word? Oh gosh, what's medion? The class of thing that we pretend to be.
Enteleki.
No, I mean that we
Social
pretend
media.
to also be. I'm blanking on the word. Yes,
Familiar.
Yes, I don't know why I just forgot that word.
Right,
Familiar.
right.
Twitter.
Familiar, yeah.
We know that many
Emo.
ancients had familiars, that it was sort of a normal thing. They said at one point, I think they said it was almost the norm to see people being followed by some strange creature or other, at least at Elpis. So, you know, it's definitely an interesting thought. Like, I don't know.
Hey, look, I found
The
Barrack.
idea that Izima could have been someone's pet or something or servant at one point.
I
Foul's
mean,
so
if we
confident
see
he's gonna go
familiars-
solo the 12.
It's possible that familiars were created to hey, look, hello, Byragot.
Mhm.
It's possible they were created to fulfill a duty, a purpose, more like an AI sort of thing, and not necessarily a servant per se. But yeah,
A little bit like the Watcher on the moon.
actually, just like that. Thank you.
Mm.
I found a chinchilla.
It's a hair.
It's a chinchilla.
Let's say there was a dwarf rabbit.
You want to know what the rabbit is? I think it's Minfina, because moon rabbits.
Yeah. Oh.
There's also a fish floating outside the water.
And that's
Yeah,
Lim
I
Lan.
found the fish. That one seems very likely. Yeah.
There's an owl, and I think that's Thaliak.
That's Thaliak for sure.
Thauliac.
Y'all are
Gaze into
terrible.
its eyes.
Give
Who?
a hoot, give a hoot, give a Charlay and a migraine.
Hey, you guys are a hoot.
It's gonna have that. It's gonna have an ability where you can. It's gonna have like tons of gaze attacks, and it's gonna have time stops. Yeah, Thaliak's gonna be fun.
Isomo Art says, I hope Square Enix releases an Azema figure for less than 12k.
Oh no.
I think this is Althik the Keeper. Look at that beard.
He's going to pieces.
Guardian of Time, but he carries a great axe in the lore, so it's an interesting. Like you don't
Guardian
generally
of,
expect time gods to be, hulking He-Man archetypes, but there we have it. Great axe man.
I mean, Byragot's basically Hercules.
Yes, he sure is.
Well, he commands the element of Earth. But
Yes.
he's the time. The god.
He had
time.
earth and wind.
Yeah, so it makes sense that he'd be a rock monster. I swear that
What-
these are them. These are definitely them.
One
Yeah.
thing I thought was really interesting was how
Found a fish.
they addressed the summoning of the 12 during the Battle of Cartno and the 7th Umbral Calamity. And they basically said, yeah, that wasn't us. That was like the same thing that everyone else has been doing, where
You
it's
made a primal.
your interpretation of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, you done.
That's
you
like just
done
your
messed
opinion,
up.
man.
So
Right.
Gaius was right and wrong at the same time.
Yeah, we had no way of knowing these actually existed till this patch.
I mean, I always assumed they didn't exist until
Floating
they
fish?
popped out. Yep, there it is. Probably Lim Lane or something.
Lim Lane,
or
yeah.
Thaliak.
Yeah, fish seems to fit for Limland very nicely.
Yeah. Byragot commands the element of muscles.
Fact.
Well, they-
Thank you, Bambi Sparkles, for that incredible comment.
They actually
Love it.
they used the Phlegathon model from Labyrinth of the Ancients for Byragot. That's why
Yes.
he's so charming.
Nice. Love it. Yeah, I do think that the little minion type things we're seeing in there are the other 12 just, I don't want to say creeping on us, but they're curious. There's some kind of thing going on they're not allowed to tell us about, and they gotta be like really wondering.
They've got something kind of like little agreement amongst themselves as to how to carry it. like how to conduct themselves, and they're hiding themselves away just like the four lords do.
Yeah, Jenny posted a really interesting comment.
Yeah, she said, with what we've learned about the ancient times concept of heaven and hell, and the similarities between certain convocation seats and members of the 12, I've been thinking the 12 might predate the convocation, and the seats were inspired by the 12, with its occupants naturally embodying what each god represents, down to the seemingly playfulness between Naldthal and Azema after the raid. Very good thought.
Yeah, I had that thought as well. Just because it seems so natural that the convocation would inspire the 12, because the 12 is what we see now, but that doesn't mean that the 12 weren't around before the convocation as well.
This also would feed into our thought before Endwalker, which is largely faded, that maybe the convocation seats or the glyphs were tapping into some ancient, forgotten magic, with like just not knowing anymore where it may have came from in the distant, super distant prehistory of Unsundered Aetheris.
So I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here if we want to dive into the actual 12 and the wheel and talk about like the 12.
Let's do
myth.
that because there's a
Yeah.
lot to go over.
Take the floor.
Indeed.
We might want to go, like, I guess, in order.
I mean, we could start with the creation myth. There's a huge creation myth about the creation of Eorzea and the 12. I will let someone else go through that. Like,
Is
Let's
that
go
in order?
over like the 12 worship, and I'd like to read the passage out of the Encyclopedia Eorzea from that one.
Sure, I'll put it on screen while you talk.
So, belief in the 12 pantheon of gods and goddesses, each represented by one of the 6 elements upon which all creation is founded, has served as a cornerstone for civilization in Eorzea for millennia. Though theologians remain unsure of the exact origins of the 12 worship in Eorzea, studies of the relics from ancient Allegan civilization tell us that even 5,000 years ago, at the peak of the Third Astral Era, the 6 and 6 deities were already ingrained in society, as they are today. Not only is the year divided into 12 and 12-year cycles used in modern astrology, city-states still choose a patron deity to serve as guardian over their lands, with that deity becoming a focal point of cultural development, such as the case with Naldthal and the economically inclined Ullans. Sometimes people from certain races or professions will choose to focus their worship on a single deity. Many Makot of the Seekers of the Sun clan will follow the teachings of Azema, the Warden, and Goddess of the Sun. Sailors will often pray to Lamaine, Watcher of Seas and Goddess of Navigation, to see their ships safely to port, and artisans will pray to Barrack, the Builder, to guide their hands.
you know, I do have to admit, I did really want to see Godbert be Barrack. Also, here you can see part of the wheel of the 12, and they are in the exact order that we encounter them in the raid. So Barrack, Rogger, Azema, and then Naldthal.
Yeah, it's really apparent that they're following a pattern.
Color-coded.
Color-coded. The actual the arena itself doesn't exactly follow. For example, the light pink purple is the first one on the left, and then it goes to red, Azema, and then it goes to Ralgar. And I actually don't see a Naldthal color, unless they're dividing it into these are the purple gods and these are the red gods, which could be what's going on. Do you think that's the case?
Well,
Yes.
you've got the 2 lightning and the 2 fire. So
Yep.
yeah.
Heaven
What-
of lightning and heaven of fire.
Yeah. One thing I think is also very interesting about this wheel is if you look at the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock position, there are circles there as well, but they are empty, meaning there are 14 circles on this wheel.
Yeah, I'm taking pictures of something in Omphalos at the moment that
Yeah.
ties into that.
Yeah, my apologies just for the correction. It is the purples, the reds, and then the
I'm gonna
blues.
say the following
greens,
page
orange,
actually
blue.
lists which gods are in which realm.
Yeah.
Huh. I also found it interesting that they denote the astral and umbral with gold and silver. I noticed it first on the base of that monument or the Ether ID thing, and then saw it in the book and was like, wait, this has always been here.
Yeah, the cathedral in the Black Shroud is like that too, with the Wheel of the 12 there.
It's going to be a good raid, let me tell you.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Phoenix Sakura said since the 12 can shapeshift into anything they want, I think they were the 12 members of Vanal's group. That would be interesting because we don't really know what happened to them other than
That was my thought from the beginning, just like because I mean, we knew back in Anamnesis that there were members of Vanal's group that helped her and sacrificed themselves to bring Heidelin into existence, but other than that, we don't know what happened.
Right.
And
Ooh, we got more pictures.
Thank you. I'm pulling them up now. I really appreciate how beautiful and well made the symbols of the 12 appear to be. It's not just that they look like stone, but like a precious, like sacred inscribed gemstone that's just... I like the texture effect, the shine on it, the sheen, I guess. It's hard to see unless you're walking around, but they just look really solid.
It's even better with G-Shade.
I believe it.
But yeah, they're very nicely reflected, like they're polished stone.
All right. There we go. So this is the first picture, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
The colorless stone at the top is something I noticed like immediately when I was when I first got to the area. I was like, "Oh, this stone is like all the ones at the base, except it doesn't have a symbol on it."
Yeah, it's the stone of Derrick.
Oh, Barrack.
Barrack. You have to say it like that. Because it's like Byragot, Roger, and Derrick.
I know.
what is wrong with us?
We're
Everything.
clever and hilarious.
And then if you have the second picture,
I do. Yeah.
I came
Okay.
up to wander around here because DPS queues are terrible.
Oh, good choice. So what we have here is the outer ring is 12. The inner ring.
The stone that's set there matches the one on the big pillar out front. And this is the freaking gate that's, unopened. So it makes me wonder if instead of being a portal to hell, it's a portal to this missing member of the 12. Or, who knows, maybe they sent their missing member to hell.
Hey, Arden.
I mean,
Yeah.
I had the impression they have something contained or trapped, but they can't deal with it and they need someone else to.
It's
Just
probably
like
the Dreadbeast
Four
Pandemonium.
Lords. Just like the Four Lords did.
Exactly.
Not
like the
not
Four
differently, yeah.
Hey, Arden, I have something that hopefully won't make you too angry.
Oh god.
All right,
what?
so we beat all the 12, and they decide to channel their energy into the crystal, and it opens the gate at the top. And when we go to the pavilion, it's actually just another portal to Elpis.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Get out.
Raging.
Loreline's in shambles.
New Ultimate's bad enough.
This time the concussion's strong enough to send Themis back to the Amaratine hospital.
Oh god.
Have mercy on the poor guy.
12,000
Right?
year practical joke.
Now we know
Maybe-
why
maybe
he
we could-
really had amnesia. It was from
Maybe
his
we could
goddamn
land on
concussion.
somebody. I hate this.
It's
We
your
trained
fault.
them. We trained them badly as a joke.
Oh my.
Yeah, it is likely to be either a gate to the seventh heaven or the seventh hell, truly. I'm looking at chat here. Cobran wants to change his deity to Derrick.
I do.
Oh boy. Should we
Well,
talk about
I
the
mean-
Alliance raid itself a little bit, or what do you want to do?
I mean, that's what we were doing.
Yeah, we can do that. We can talk about creation. We can talk about the hells and heavens. How the heaven of fire was this big endless city, and the heaven of, or the hell of fire is basically a trash heap with what's left over that's on fire.
So you're saying
So-
it's
so
Midgar
let's-
under the pizza?
Yeah, it's a dumpster fire.
Let's go over what the gods had said to us at first too, because they confronted us after we got up here and started kind of wandering around a bit, and they approached us, and we at first thought that they were primals, and they corrected us.
Yeah, correction.
Mm.
Correction. The game told us we were supposed to think they were primals.
Yeah. And so we thought that, oh, they are going to temper us, and then they corrected us and saying, no, we're different from what you are intimately acquainted with down there. We do not temper. We are divinities true.
Yeah, the to be fair, the only time we've ever seen the 12 outside of this, they were primals. So we had every reason to assume that they were, but them saying that they're divinities again leads me back to Four Lords and what they were saying about themselves.
Hmm.
I did have a
Except,
little bit of a
and-
problem with the way that we all got characterized. Like they weren't fooling me at all, and to see my character whip his sword out or whatever was kind of bothered me a little bit.
I mean, I feel like we were at least a little bit on the protective side after everything we had just experienced, and now we've got yet another set of like deities to be that are like, oh, we're gonna take over the world now. Like I can at least forgive our initial reaction in that sense.
I was ready to throw down something because I was like, I don't believe you when you say this, and also I'm a
Yeah.
little offended at the whole like. We decided
Yeah.
that it's just something that was added in, and we just don't have it because reasons.
Exactly, and also that they would try to like test us
Mm.
and get
Yeah.
amusement out of the situation and not be like
And the
fully
fact of the
upfront.
matter is, sorry, but they obviously know something. They're very obviously holding back. Oh, we can't tell you. Yeah, you can. You're just choosing not to.
Yeah, it's a super secret. You have to suss out on your own.
See you in 6 months.
Fine. I love, yeah, honestly, that's probably more why I'm annoyed than anything else. I love figuring things out, but like, you gotta make me wait.
Yeah.
But we also can't help but like love them when they're like encouraging us and complimenting us, like they'll do during their fight.
You deserve a prize.
Yeah.
Reward.
Damn right I do.
Damn right I do. I did not die during that fight.
So
I did
Snoga
it for
mentioned,
the first time on Astro, and I was fine most of the other bosses, and then for some reason my brain just turned off on Old Thal, and I was just like, oh god.
I'm starting to get better at his fight, their fight, and it's like I especially like that I keep getting picked for the clone.
See, I've never been
So-
picked for the clone, but I did wipe our group because I moved to the wrong side the other day.
Oh no.
So Snoga mentions that she believes that the critters are vessels of the gods, but flee when she approaches them. But they don't run from the Warrior of Light. The Warrior of Light can just walk up and emote at all of them, says Bambi in chat.
That's a good point. They're very curious.
Which, I mean, if they're just critters walking around and the devs didn't want to animate the anything like that happening, then I mean that's fine too.
So I've got another picture up that you guys shared, and it's a picture of the main shrine where the sigils of the 12 are.
There's a sun pattern on the floor.
Do you see it?
It also looks kind of like a compass
Mhm.
rose.
Indeed.
More
And if I
things
counted
because-
correctly, there's 12 points for the sun.
looks like, yeah.
3, 6, 9, 12. Yep, it's the same. 3, 3, 3, 3. Yes, it's 12.
Mm-hmm. They love their sun imagery, don't they?
Yes.
Indeed.
It's very interesting because remember how I said that this area reminded me of the holding area before we fight Vothri, and you've got the sunbeams coming down and all that. The ring that you consistently see, the golden ring
Mhm.
that you keep seeing around Mount Golg and around Vothri, is actually based on the symbol of Louis the 14th, I believe, who was known as the Sun King.
Interesting.
So we have a comment
That's-
in chat
yeah.
that says, wait, those directions look like the ones on the mask. Decorations.
Yes,
Are
yes,
you-
they do. That's why I put another picture
Ah.
in chat.
Do you see it?
Yeah, let's pull that picture up.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's got a very similar aesthetic. I don't know if I can pick out any specific details that are like, oh yes, this is the same, but the general shape, the general idea. I mean, this area feels very like Greco-Roman as well, which I found very interesting.
I mean, it's a
Ooh.
little bit of a teaser, right? We just don't quite know what we're gonna get, but it was stated in one of the engagements with the devs that this series was meant to feel like an epilogue to the Heidelin Zodiac story. So it could be that this is
Wild.
where we get the end of the Azem question from, maybe, in 6 months.
That would be interesting.
Oh my God, Arden, you need to overlay that
I
immediately.
Is there another
Yeah,
picture?
one sec.
Oh,
Huh.
yeah. I'm pulling it up.
You know, Alex, this one guy in chat says that makes me think of a convocation sigil. Well,
Exactly. Well, here you go.
Love that.
Yeah.
Funny how
funny
that
you
works.
say that. Logriff the Transcendent.
And then
Yep.
cue us talking about how Ralger has like an ability
Animal
that's like
husbandry.
an ability that references the 8th.
Yeah, Advent of the 8th. Yeah, I'm sure that's Calamity because, you know, the meteor type of stuff, but still, that's wild.
Thanks.
Subtle
you just
little
blew my
things.
mind. You blew my mind with that.
Or things like Azima and a heavenly city that we fight her in.
It's supposed to be an endless city. It's not that big.
It's not that big. Overhead's never
Wow, you
satisfied.
can't just say that to a deity.
It's not
Oh
that
my
big.
god.
I tell you, Explorer mode cannot come soon enough. I really wish.
You say that to Barrack, they're not that big, referring to his muscles and hammer.
He goes back
I
to the
think
gym.
Meow
I
wanted to
don't-
say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say something.
Go
I
ahead.
don't think it's related to Logriff per se. I think the motive here resembles more the generic Amorotin or ancient decoration mask. If you
Yeah,
see
that's what I was thinking too.
because if I don't know how to explain this. If this were Logriff alone, then they would have a different one for each, resembling each one of the convocation. Instead, they have the motive is the same for every race, so to speak. So, regardless, if you take one of the regular ancient masks and you check at the pattern they have between their eyes and the stuff, that it's nearly the same.
Well, there's
Almost like
another
the
point.
Heidelin rings.
Yeah, this is another point for being Vanaz crew.
Yeah, and on that subject, yeah, since
It
you
doesn't have
brought
to
it
be
up,
Venas crew.
but it could be.
Every ancient regard is depicted with this pattern.
Yes.
It's just that we we've seen all of them in Elpis since the others were basically memories, recreations, whatever.
It could very well be also the thought that just came to mind is that Heidelin was a creation not just of Vana, but the other summoners that brought Vana's ideal to fruition. Maybe they came from them.
I have a thought on
possible.
this since you all are bringing it up. If you look at the sigil, obviously it's a sun, but look at the triangular patterns. And this is just the nature of drawing a circle with a star in it, but these outer triangles that all have the same sigil or motif, they're going into the center. and then the sun's rays are coming out of the center. And so that could be symbolic of a sacrifice and a rebirth, maybe. In other words, a summoning of a deiform entity.
I could see it.
Does that make any sense? Am I crazy? Sometimes Fau's crazy.
It does. It could be
I knew it.
like the memorial of Zodiark
I
and the
knew it.
Sundering.
Okay, wild theory time.
Yep.
Go for it.
So Arden just linked a sigil, which is similar to one of a picture that she just linked before it. There is Pashtarat. The sigil is Pashtarat, and what we know from speaking with Emmett back in Elpis, he was overseer of justice and order.
I'm bringing that image up now.
You think this is his police?
It could be, honestly.
I'm just throwing that out there. Overseer of justice and order.
If people are wondering, wait, who the fuck Pastrat? We saw him back
Very
in
briefly.
the very end of A Realm Reborn. We got a glimpse of him. He seemed to be tied to the Bahamut raids, and then we just never saw him ever again. He even had a voice and
Ever
everything.
again.
The
Just
only
proof.
thing he ever did was he was like, you know what? I don't know what the hell Nabrialis is doing, Elidibus, but like we're just questioning what exactly your plan is
Thanks,
here.
Arden.
That was not Brialis. We didn't even see Pastrat then.
Then I must be misremembering because I do remember him like questioning something that Elidibus was doing.
Yeah,
was
Nabrialis was Elidibus was like, you object, and he was like, we question.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I have a
Oh,
picture
right.
of that too.
It's been a little while.
I got them a little confused because I think they were in that same kind of time
Oh, yeah.
frame.
The Nabrialis, Pashtarat, and Igurum were the three we were able to identify in the cutscene.
When
where,
did Ultima show up?
Pashtarat is.
Yep.
Ultima.
That was in the
during-
Christmas one much later, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
didn't
when they
get
had a meeting.
That was
we didn't get to see him
2.3.
put down.
2.3.
We actually got an appearance for Pashtarat, which we don't have for Ultima.
2.4 was the appearance of Emeroloth and Pashtarat.
Not Pashtarat.
Pashtarat
Well, okay,
showed up
I
in
don't think he had a line there.
2.5.
2.0.
Or
Pashtarat was
2.0,
only in
okay, yeah,
2.0
2.0, yeah.
proper. That very end of A Realm Reborn, that bonus cutscenes in there, teasers.
All right, Jenny has a wackadoo theory, and I
Okay.
really want to hear it. Go, Jenny, go.
If it weren't for wackadoo theories, I wouldn't have any theories at all.
Fact.
There is actually more than 3 that we haven't met yet.
Yeah. Dudalaphon, Pashtarat, Ultima, and the dude.
Halmarut.
Halmarut, yeah.
But dude,
So
We've seen his work,
Just
but not his
because-
person.
just because the devs said that Ultima and Dudalaphon were killed by Gaius, they weren't. We all know from our knowledge of Ascians that them being killed by mortal hands isn't exactly being killed. They are
He didn't
sent
have
back.
the aura sight or the blade.
Yeah. So they were sent back to the Rift, which means they can go back to new bodies. So they're still out there.
they may not
Yep.
choose to use them because
Yeah, we
They
just don't know
seem
what
to
the hell
wanna
they're
move
doing
on,
right
but-
now.
they got to be out there.
They had to have been aware at least somewhat of what was going on with like their boss running off to the
And
first
Emerolov is a very special case because the first incarnation was killed in the Isle of Vol incident. The second one we see is talking in the Rift. So that means that another Emerolov shard was raised to that seat of office.
That's a bit hazy, though. It could be a
So
retcon.
and that's again
If-
just
We could
conjecture.
retcon it, but we also have a very solid, reasonable explanation. So
It's either that Galuf and friends didn't manage to kill that Emerald and they escaped, or Emmett replaced them.
I have theorized just for funsies, not like anything supporting it, but just because it'd be funny, that since we know Emmett Sulk has this mastery of the underworld, there's no possible way he did not notice the Isle of Val getting put in the life stream. There's a 0% chance of that, I really believe.
That's a
So he
big
might have
island.
been like, what the hell is going on? Looked at it and been like, Emerald, what are you doing? And pulls her out, you know.
It's like a car
That's
crashing into
Just
your
a
home.
Yeah, exactly. It's a car crashing. That's a pretty good analogy.
I like that.
Flip an island up in your realm that you're in charge of. I don't know. I feel like he wouldn't have not looked, and if he'd seen Emerald, he'd be like, "What are you doing? Get out of there!" But I also like the re-raising theory as well.
The last dialogue that Emerald had in the 2.0 cutscenes, I think, is the one I just pulled up, and she says, "Inferno, Vortex, Crag, Whirl, and Levin all have now been humbled by the Bringer of Light." So this is during the initial primal run of ARR.
Yep.
She's aware of all the stuff we've been up to, which
Yep.
occurs after, like before and after Vol happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've been watching.
Yep.
Very
Ultima,
interesting.
Emerald, and Pastora all get one line and are never seen again. Ultima is
Gotcha.
mentioned again, but it went just by the devs.
And Dudalafon's only really been mentioned by the devs. He or whatever has never gotten any kind of content in the game yet.
To include in Elpis, when Emmett Silk breaks it down, he doesn't tell us what
Yeah.
they, Gabrialis, or Elidibus do. And I know, well, we know what Elidibus do, sort of.
We know what he do.
He's like a
We
diplomat
also-
or something.
It's also very odd that he doesn't mention it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
he
in
kind of just
game,
like
out of
passes
narrative, it
over it.
makes sense.
I think he
Rude.
passed over it a little bit because he was like, "Well, this is just common knowledge. You should already know this. I'm not going to give you
Yeah.
everything." But like, obviously, they were probably trying to keep that omitted from us, the player, for some specific reason.
Does
So
seem quite probable.
I brought up the picture you have of the gold leaf pavilion. Did you want to touch on this?
That's what Ayumi was talking about with the Pastorat similarity earlier.
Yeah, I was gonna say, bring up the sigil.
All right, sigil's coming up. Okay, sigil's on screen.
I'll let Ayumi go over it because I'm doing something.
So, and this is the sigil for Pastorat. Is he's known as the Scion of Light, but the Scion of Darkness, he would be Zeromus in Final Fantasy XII.
This is the 4 expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Getting very excited by Saroma.
And Galvez is already in the game.
Yeah, which is interesting.
So I'm looking at the spear at the top of the sigil. I'm just calling it that. It's kind of trident shaped.
To be fair, 14 is known for not using the full sigil,
Yes.
or
Indeed.
are using parts of the sigil and just kind of varying or modifying the other. Because we look at Fandaniel's sigil and they use like the light parts of it and not the dark parts of it, or we look at Elidibus's and they use a little bit of his whole sigil and they make some modifications to the bottom part of it. So
They took Emmett's
Still-
one and they like flipped it upside down and took only parts from the bottom.
Still, what I was going to say. The full glyphs do exist actually in 14 verse.
That's true. We see them in Academia.
Academia
Yes.
and Aniter.
we just haven't
Which is
seen
interesting.
we haven't seen their wings yet. Except for the dudes.
Yeah. I'd love to get an expansion on that.
So is the implication here that the 12 are an Asian plot?
I mean, I just threw
Isn't
that out
everything
there
a
so you can
Cassian plot?
beat me up later if my theory is incorrect.
Well, define Asian.
I mean, yeah, like, is it? It's not a very good Asian plot if it didn't end up doing them any good.
Huh.
God, I love the textures.
And I
Some
mean,
point that
Emmett
the-
going.
It's an interesting point that the sigil, if you look at the entire sigil for Zalira, which is the Scion of Darkness opposite to Emet Selk, it's meant to be kind of It's a Lyra on the bottom side. The shamaness, he's bound, who is in the upper side, and that's pretty much how Nalthal is depicted. Which is, if the convocation turns out to be based on the 12,
Hmm.
that also raises some questions about the nature of the Lucavi themselves in the Evilist raids.
Mm-hmm. Please continue.
Like, for example, we know that there are the scions of light and darkness, but this is going to be a bit long. Sorry.
It's okay.
In Final Fantasy XII lore, there's there's 13 Espers, but Ultima and Zodiac, which are the signs of light and darkness, they don't have an opposite sign. They're like opposites between themselves.
Mhm.
But every other single one, they have two. Like in this case, it's quite similar because each member of the 12 has like they have an astral. They even have an astral representative and a number representative. So their case is pretty much similar, and they organize in a very similar way. So let us say that the 12 are the or the Lucavi that we meet in the whole body and Evilist raid. They're the opposites to the 12. That could be interesting because we also know that the convocation names they all have a previous someone that bore the name, and that was the name of their office. So I'm kind of here wondering if the names of each seat are the ancient names of the 12, which
That'd be interesting.
could be they could be a twist in, hey, they are the convocation. Well, maybe it's not there. The convocation was not exactly. They are actually named after the 12, or they're ancient names. It could be one of the. I mean, it could be a reason. But at the same time, makes me wonder too, and that's why they're in inheritors too. They have their part of their glyphs as mark, and as we learn in Q&A, they're power limiters too. Maybe power limiters because they are drawing powers from a god. Who knows? I mean, it's a possibility.
I think the limiter thing was clarified to be more of a more of, not that it stops you, but that it puts out a brand being like, yo, this is so and so.
So it's a social pressure mechanic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's
not a
let's
strict
go
limiter.
back to our topic
yeah.
though.
At the same time, the 12, the fact that they're the 12, and there's the colorless stone that was mentioned before. It made me think of maybe Ultima. I mean, Zodiac, we know he was a creation of the ancients, but makes me think it's like there's kind of like an outsider of sorts. I mean, the colorless stone is also associated with the seat of Elidibus, which is the 13th seat. But I don't know. I mean, there's something here that makes me think of the Lucavi.
I think that's a fair conclusion, to be honest. We have a lot of
So-
examples of them trying to seal something.
At the same time, there's what was it in the Evilist raids? It was mentioned that Heidelin directly fought Ultima and sealed. Well, I'm not sure if it was Heidelin who sealed Ultima. Surely it was Warriors of Light, Ramsa, and others, and and Zodiac breaks Braves before that fought Ultima, but that storyline is quite. I mean, I mean, all we know is that Ultima tried to defy Heidelin, at least in Ivalis's time, 14 Ivalis's time, and that's when Rams and the others seal her. But I don't know. The whole thing about the 12 also makes me think of other deities, and that seem to be not just. I mean that there's other deities around. Like for example, the in the Azim step, they do have Azim, and it was theorized that draws his name from Azim. I mean Azim Azima. But why for example in the Far East they would have, if the Phantom Realm can be glimpsed, then why in this case they would associate Azim with a male when Azima is a female if she was the origin? I don't know. There's maybe they manifest. Maybe the Phantom Realm can be strongly more or manifest more clearly in Eorzea. I don't. It's kind of a lot of stuff that we could ask the 12.
Yeah, there's a lot of floating lore here. I mean, in the Far East, we do have these names. It's not a mistake, but you wonder where they come from.
Now, Nama also makes me think of Naimea.
Naimea, yeah.
There's still a lot of question marks there too.
Yeah, it's a super interesting thing. We just don't have the answers yet on this.
Dang, it's hard to wait.
It is hard to wait.
Yeah, it is.
All I know is that the Eorzea seems to be like the United States in movies. If there's a meteorite or anything going to or aliens, it's going to happen there.
Of course.
That's fair. That's fair. So I guess we should step into the raid then.
Yeah, let's go into the raid. We kind of step in, and it's funny because during the raid we ask, have you been here before, and to Derrick, and he's like, yeah, I've totally explored all of this. Huh.
Like, okay, how'd you get in here? Why are you dressed like that? We don't believe that you don't know anything. Spill the beans.
But besides that, our first encounter is Barrack.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, he kind of builds and reshapes the arena during the fight, and I thought that was a very unique and cool way to address his kind of his role as a divinity.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Barrack
His specialty.
personally. His specialty. Yeah, it's not like he's actually building with a hammer and nails and a chisel. He just has a magic mallet that just makes things.
Man, Bob the Builder's fight's so fun.
It's really impressive. This
say
ability at all to just create structures. It's really, really cool deific power.
Which the ancients also had.
He basically just manipulated the arena. I mean, it's not only not only builds but takes away.
His tower is also very reminiscent of the tower from a certain astrologian card.
The tower? The spire?
The spire.
The spire. Which actually, this would be a perfect time to talk about the Heaven of Lightning, which is what the spire is.
Yes.
In the Heaven of Lightning, one will find a towering clockwork spire built by Barrack with metal forged from a comet and powered by Rhalgr's Levin bolts. Here rest engineers and architects, revolutionaries, and conquerors of evil. Levin-charged fragments of the comet plummet to the pit to form the Hell of Lightning, a place of damnation for vandals, slumlords, and warmongers. And it's really interesting. The artwork for the Heaven of Lightning looks almost like Dalamud and the Crystal Tower.
Yeah, I'd noticed the Crystal Tower thing before and was like, oh, but then we actually went here and I'm like, huh. Suppose there could be a little column A, a little column B.
Up the stairs.
Well,
Yeah.
Rhalgr's symbol is a falling meteor, so.
And he uses them in his fight.
Sometimes he punches them.
Punch mage.
White screen.
So for anyone
I
who
mean,
wants
that's-
to see the actual encyclopedia, I have it on screen now.
Awesome.
I mean, if you want
Yep,
to
there it
punch a
is.
meteor, that's actually what Lusua did, basically.
Yeah, he did.
Ah,
Huh. When you
I-
put it like that.
I love Punch Santa. I cast
Okay.
fist.
I cast fist.
I mean, that's basically what he was doing.
So yeah, I just thought it was really cool that we actually get to see the heaven of lightning and the heaven of fire.
Indeed.
so after we fight Barrack, we kind of go off. We
Yeah.
walk a little bit, and then we kind of meet him at a juncture with his hawk and him.
And
stupid
he
fucking
makes
bird.
it- And we fight his pet.
And we fight his pet.
Which would be extra funny if they were indeed like, once animals that became divinities or once familiars that became divinities, because now they have little animal familiar pets.
Familiar.
I don't know. I just keep seeing them around and in the Omphalos, and I'm just reminded of Rison Temple.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, agreed. It just sort of like, I don't necessarily think they're literally that, but it's definitely a similar vibe.
The only difference is we can't actually talk to them between the raids. And
That's
I,
right.
Yeah,
They're just vibing.
would be great if we could at the end, but I don't know if I'm holding
like
my breath.
after we figure out the secret, if they're still around, be like, so, hi.
I mean,
Just
if
haven't
you
heard
ask
it
me, I
yet.
think that I think the universe might implode if we introduce Asima to Suzaku.
Oh, they would probably hit it off.
Yeah, precisely.
I see. So I guess we can step forward to Ralgar.
Yes. He fashioned a statue, an arena for our contest.
Yeah, did
Or
he make
is
that, or
it-
did Barrack make the whole place?
He admitted
said he
that he
did.
made it.
Yeah.
He made the statue too. A bit egotistical, but
I mean, he just wanted somewhere familiar that we could fight him, and
Fight
we,
on my
we already
hand.
had the statue of him. He's like,
Somewhere
I mean,
familiar.
Barrack calls him his master.
Master.
So.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, Ralgar saw the Stormbolter
Apprentice,
trailer, and he was
right?
like, that. I like that.
Well, I'm trying to remember the
in-
lore of the 12. Isn't he like his apprentice or whatever?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why he does that.
that's interesting because now I'm thinking that Nalthal are brothers to Ocean, and well,
Which is weird because Ashan just kind of appears out of nowhere.
Yeah, I would say this is this dialogue box with him saying master or teacher. It tells us that the genealogy or the relationships on the
It's
12
more
chart
than that.
is exactly correct.
It's more than
Which is
that.
kind of wild.
He's not master. He's his father.
Can be both. But it is
Can it be
kind of
both?
wild to
Yeah.
think that, oh, we have these random myths passed down that are exactly precisely
Yeah.
correct.
and then Ralgar is an attendant to Naimia,
Right.
and the
So
most
when they
amusing thing
attended,
is that
they mean
the most amusing thing is that Haloni and Nofika apparently don't get along well.
That'll be a fun raid mechanic.
The funny thing is, the Encyclopedia Eorzea says that he is depicted as carrying he is a magi carrying a staff of bronze. Man, he must have been a really buff magi. So, it's a very intensive fight. It's a very interesting and mechanic heavy fight.
I was I was completely brain dead the first time around Aglaia, but Ralgar probably was the best exponent for that fact. I it took me the second time I ran Aglaia to barely understand what the fuck was going on.
I
Don't
had
get
a lot
pushed
of
off the
deaths.
fingers.
Not I didn't die, but a lot of other people did.
Also, I had terrible luck. Didn't help at all.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But we fight him, and we're totally finished with the Heaven of Lightning. We go through a fiery portal and into this beautiful area, the Heaven of Fire.
Yeah. So
And then-
the lore box says, in the heaven of fire sprawls an endless city built by Naldfall from golden bricks fired in the heat of Azima's sun. Here reside the just and the fair, the honest and the philanthropic. So as Cobran
And
said,
with
the
the-
city wasn't endless, but come on, it's just a raid encounter.
With
I
the
will
Hell
say-
of
Yeah,
Fire.
I wonder if there's supposed to be some indication that the Warrior of Light is fulfilling these qualities when they go to these heavens to fight the deities in question. Like, the Warrior of Light better not be a slumlord, or you can't come into the Hell of Fire, or the Heaven of Fire or whatever.
I mean,
It's a gate check.
Yeah.
And the Hell of Fire?
Yeah, the Hell of Fire was formed when the rubble left after the creation of its heavenly counterpart was cast from the firmament into the dark pit and set
literally
alight.
the trash of the heaven of fire became the hell of fire. and
Here
it's just
burn those
trash.
who wrongly judged their peers, those who tricked their customers, and those who received. I don't know that word.
That one that is always charging Estinian for like that NPC is going straight to the Heaven of Fire.
Basically,
I
half of
started the Hell
Ishgard is
Fire.
going to there.
Yeah.
Usury and that kind of thing, like
Mhm.
low.
Well, now we know that if we go to the Hell of Fire, one of the bosses will be Teleji Adeleji.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Lechi, Adeleji, Thornton, and half of Ishgard.
Right.
And half of Ulda.
At least it's warm.
Yeah.
And then we go
Wow.
into there, and then we meet. I think that are the lion, the lioness are. I think
Yeah.
they're Azima's pets.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
lions.
That's what I
You
recall.
go as far as to say that she would turn into one too.
I was actually
could see
wondering,
that.
that might be, I turns into a little curl kitten or something cute.
I mean, we don't know which. We don't meet if Nalthal has any familiar that we know,
Yeah.
but it's kind of. I mean, I found interesting that Azima has like a lion and a lioness. It's like two in one pet, because Ralgar only had the hawk and that. I'm trying to recall why the fuck these lions actually made me go made me go like ice, but I'm trying to recall the reason, and I can't recall. All I know is that it was because Final Fantasy 13. But
Hmm.
Are there any
Could be a
lion
raid.
motifs in the 13 series?
no,
You know what I think when you say lion is Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, I know. Now I recall. It's very stupid. It's
Oh, great.
because one of their, it's because of, the joint attack the joint attack they make is called Slash and Burn, and that's literally one of the most basic two team paradigms in 13.
Yeah.
It's absurd. Don't forget I said so.
It's super important.
It's kind of cute.
So-
though.
It is cute. It's fine.
we come across Azema, and
And she's spicy.
She looks pretty much exactly like her balance card, but not as she's depicted in the Encyclopedia Eorzea as seen there.
She's actually a little bit different than the balance card, but it's really close. And she's really
Yeah.
hot.
What was that, Cobra?
That's the fire.
And she's really hot.
And she's really hot. I was waiting
and
for it.
she is basically we may consider Azima basically the patron deity of dancers.
Yes.
Yeah. I just really want fans for my dancer. Like I'm gonna scream and shout until I get that.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah.
of the big disappointments for me when Dancer came out was the fact that there's no fan weapons.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself. I know how to get them.
I mean,
Haha.
you've got fan abilities, but you have
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna
actual
say. You've
fan.
got
It's not quite the
fan
same,
dance,
but it's something.
but you do whip out fans for that. But I want fans for like Jeepos and stuff.
Understandably.
I'm gonna try to
I
get the
mean,
balance card and I'll put it on screen.
a good deal of her attacks are actually named after parts of the dancer rotation, like the radiant
It's
finish.
definite. It's
and
definitely
it's
not
like
coincidence.
Radiant finish is almost likely taken from the buff from improvisation.
One thing I think is really interesting about Azema's fight is that it shows that the 12 are not solely locked to their elements, because Azema uses a wind attack during the encounter.
Mhm.
Well, she
So I
does have
think
a
that's
fan,
nice.
right? I mean, that's part of the nature of the
Yeah.
weapon.
So it seems like weapons can give them quote unquote extra elements, perhaps, where they're she's fire associated.
Right.
So in Rolger's case, the meteor, is there a meteor element?
There's at least punch element.
Earth? Because it's rocks?
I mean, if we go by 12, Final Fantasy 12, the Esper that amusingly the Esper that literally chucks a meteor at you is Exodus, which is its element is or sphere is the element of ether, which is kind of
Weird.
I don't know if you've seen the Final Fantasy 12 Esper attacks, but certainly Exodus was like, yeah, bearded guy, yeah.
He's
with
based off X Death
meteors.
from 5.
Yeah.
So Alex, would that be would it be like Dakiao from
Have we
Dynasty
ever
Warriors?
put up? Have we ever put that recompilation video here of the 12? The Final Fantasy 12 attacks.
We've posted
Not sure.
some of them, just not all of them. We've
We've
done
definitely
on
taken a look at
Zodiac.
Zodiarcs. That was very relevant.
But I think we have, never. I think we've never done that on a stream. Anyways, whatever. Now I'm thinking of Thaliak and Famfrit and fuck.
So while Fao is bringing up the balance card,
Struggling
In the
to. Did they
balance?
change it how it works? Because I've been getting spear ewer.
No, it's still just purely RNG.
Jeez. There's a spire again.
Yeah, I
know.
had a run of something where I pulled the balance
There
8
it is. I
times
got it.
in
I
a
got it.
row.
Yeah,
Oh, I got it.
I main Astrologian in raiding and stuff, and it is annoying when I get just one element over and over again, like the spire, just over and over and over.
Just a moment, and I will change the scene.
The card at least does have.
I could have just looked
Azima's
it up,
wings.
but I wanted to.
yeah.
I wanted
You
to show
wanted to
it
do it the
in-game.
hard way.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, look at this. I'll make it big for everybody. That's balance.
She's wearing far less armor in the card.
They sound perhaps a bit salty.
No.
That's funny.
Everyone just misremembers Vana after Azema was shown.
Has the wings
It's like
there.
that
which is
one.
interesting.
It's like that one meme where you're just he's walking with that girl, and he sees the one girl
Yep.
from behind. God.
Mhm.
Well, at least it's kind of trading one Asim for another.
True.
Who's Vana?
You 14 players are so. Never mind.
No. You can only love one at a time.
Lies.
I
Which
mean,
means as soon as a new
speak for
wife comes along,
yourself.
you drop the other one like a hot rock.
I mean,
Like a hot
well,
rock.
no. Or if you're like me, you see like the character in the capstone quest, you know which one, and I'm like, I found a new wife for my polycule.
Yay. Sludge Prince.
Oh
Oh,
my
no.
God.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to read it.
I'm glad they didn't.
Sludge Prince says, I remember someone complaining that they actually clothed her feet more in the fight and wanted to see her bare feet.
Of course.
Well, people know
Of
Square does
course.
not know how to make bare feet.
Yeah, I
It's not
still
in this
have.
game.
When you take your shoes off, you've got clogs on. What is going on?
Like little
It's
sandal
disappointing.
things.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to lay down in my bed at my house and got my shoes on. That's not appropriate. This game comes out of Japan. They should know better.
Maybe you're just like wary of all of those rocks you've been eating. You left them on the floor. You don't want to step on them.
Mm. Convocation crystal yummy.
God.
Not yummy to step on though.
Anyways, besides the Jolly Ranchers. So, who had fun during this fight? I did.
I did.
I did.
I
It
think,
was interesting.
I
I
think
spent
it was the,
about
I
half
think
of
it
it
was
dead.
the one. No, I think it was the one I died the least.
Nice.
You died the least on.
Well, she's my guardian deity, so.
She took care of you. That's what you're trying to say.
So, who immediately got PTSD when she did the fire fan attack, the beginning of it? Because it was literally P3.
Yeah,
Me?
that
It's
makes sense.
literally, yeah. Oh no.
I was
oh,
like, this is
no.
familiar, but unfortunate.
I heard the sound before I
unfortunate.
saw it on the floor, and I just physically was like, no!
You mean you mean Pandemonium Savage 3? Because I
Yes.
did read
Yes,
Savage.
P3.
Yeah.
All
She's got-
I could think was of Innocent's fucking sword.
She
rotating
also,
thing.
she
Mhm.
also, interestingly enough, had Vana abilities, particularly
Yes.
from like Heideland's fight.
As a dancer, yes. Well, yeah.
One
they're
of the
both
things
dancers.
I always get wrong is when she does the fans around the edge of the arena. I always see it after it's done the first rotation, and she always does 5. And so I'm like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I go where it's gonna be, and it lands on me and goes off, and I'm like, ah.
Oh, right.
She does a
Oh, no.
number, a solid number the first time. The second time she does it, it's wrong. She doesn't do it 5 times. She does it 4.
Ah, that's why.
Oh, no. Well,
Tricks
now you
goddess.
know.
I don't have much to say on this fight except that it was very fun aesthetically. It was an awful lot of orange though, and I know we've been having some community woes about orange fights.
Yeah, there's
So-
P3S, and then there's Ultimate, and then
At
there's
least during
this.
her fight, it's a dark arena.
yeah.
Wonder if that's why they put it at night. I thought it was so odd to fight the goddess of the sun at night.
They
You know-
saw everybody have a positive reaction to the Azem crystal reveal and everything, like thematically around the color orange. And they're like, now we're gonna turn the dial and look back at the audience as we apply more orange.
Okay, too much.
Orange.
Wow.
Should pull it back.
Just
That's
as
hilarious.
a random factoid that I think is really cool is that Gil all has Nymea's face on it.
Ah. That's actually very interesting because, like, Nalthal is more about, like, commerce.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
their symbol is even the cowrie, which was ancient currency
Right,
in real
yeah.
life as well as in game.
It says
But,
it says it's a carry, but all I can see when I see Nalpsal symbol is a close eye.
Same.
That's fun.
I just thought it looked like a smiley face.
For
Then I learned it was a
viewers-
cowrie. I was like, oh.
For viewers who might not know, the cowrie is a type of seashell that cultures from Greece to West Africa and various other places used as a currency in lieu of metal coin. So it's basically a seashell. It's a shell. And they would use it as currency, which is interesting because while it's not necessarily scarce, it is like fungible and portable. So, just agree that the shell is worth something and then you have money again. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So after Azema, the sky turns light again, and we see a very big city on the horizon. one that's eerily similar to one that we already know,
Is it Ulda?
Ah,
and it's very bright amongst the sands. And again, a place that we know very familiar or are very acquainted with. The
So-
architecture is literally the same.
Can I just put this out there? And if someone can explain it to me, please do. I do not understand the Nullthal thirst.
Me
Please
neither.
teach
It's
us.
the voice. It's not
okay,
just the voice.
it's
The voice is very good.
voices, they praise you, and they look like certain individuals that we already thirst for.
They
They
have very
can
nice
make an Arden sandwich.
Exactly.
I'm
Nullthal
thinking
thirst is very valid.
They have that whole like size difference thing going on.
Hell yeah.
One of them Matryoshka dolls into the other when they're like switching places.
Okay.
I think we figured it out.
I
Ron and I
accept,
are
but
It's all subtextual.
yeah.
Emphasis on the sub.
Yeah, I see, but I do not understand.
It's fine.
Don't worry, Neela and Arden and I have you covered up.
They've got that fandom covered
Yep. And uncovered.
and uncovered. I do like this fight. Like strictly speaking, the music is hype. I love the twin mechanics. I can't sing the praises of this alliance raid enough. Like I said at the very beginning of the podcast, that this was like a celebration of the game. It's really like we went to Final Fantasy 14 Disneyland or something, like as a child. This is just such a joyful, fun. I had so much fun here.
So going back to Sludge brought up an interesting thing where the
Are you okay?
deities are
Yeah.
voiced by the Scions, and Bayergot. Does anyone know that one? I know that Roger is voiced by Estinian, and Azema. Does anyone know that one?
Yeah, are you okay?
Sorry, what was the one for Azema? What's the question?
Voiced by the Scions, the 12.
I know that I heard Estinian and Ralger, but like I don't remember. I don't remember
Yeah.
which ones the other ones would be. I think Alphino might have been voicing one of them.
Meowth
Is that Meowth
dying.
laughing? I thought that was
Yes.
Cobra and
Yes.
laughing.
I
What's
think
going
Meowth is
on?
dying. Poor
I
Meowth.
can't tell.
What made you
Rest
laugh?
in
Come
peace.
on. Come on.
It's the sheer absurdness of the entire cast, except for me.
No, it's just Cobra ruining that now thought for me. Fucking bullshit.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I'm the normal one.
Oh, someone had to be.
Yeah, you and Hilda are wonderful.
You've tainted Fao, so now I claim my place as the normal one.
It's
I'm
okay.
tainted.
We'll
What?
corrupt you in due time.
Sorry,
Fine.
that's not gonna happen.
Where the fuck do I fall into then?
I mean, you like Emmett.
Yeah, but
I mean, she has a pulse, so yeah.
I'll keep
Oh my god!
I'll keep a seat warm for you, Meowth. You can sit on my side.
well, I don't know. I just my brain just short circuited between Pulse and Final Fantasy 13, so I guess that's where I fall into.
So there is a contention I have with Nalthal being Graha. There are two voices there. I will admit that Nald would be Graha, but Thal is way
Nolan and Paul
too
are the same
close-
voice actor.
Thal sounds way too close to Emmett's voice actor.
He's not.
Nolan and Paul are the same
I
voice
don't-
actor, and it's not Graha.
Yeah, I don't think it's either of them.
Are you
honestly.
saying that nobody
It
wins?
sounds like
Like whoever's doing their speech is inflecting similar, at least in terms of Thal.
yeah, I would agree that
Emmett,
the inflection
they're
was similar,
not
but the voice
quite.
doesn't sound like it.
It's not the same. I would know his voice anywhere.
Okay.
That said, I did appreciate what they were trying to go for there, and they did a good job with it. Whoever they are.
I mean, it would make sense if it were in the case it would be Jonathan Bailey and Rena Sager. It would make sense because there's this moment when Nald and Thal do their ultimate attack, and there's the upper half golden and the lower half violet, and it's like, oh god, Shadowbringers all over again.
Yeah.
So thematically and in terms of image composition, it would make absolute sense if they were Jonathan Bailey and Renee Sacker.
Although I have seen people compare Hermes and Hythlodaeus variously to Nald for various reasons as well.
Until we
I
get
mean,
that
Hitler
confirmation.
was fair, but Hermes. If anything, I would see Hermes more like Wing the Lion. Maybe that's where they're aiming for Ocean, for
I think
example.
that the main thing with him was they were like Hermes wanted to judge life, and that's what Nald does. Just a living.
A bit of a
I think that was
stretch,
the
if you
crux.
ask me. But...
Yeah, it's the crux of their argument on that front. I think it's mainly just open to interpretation, quote unquote.
Is
Yoshida.
that a nail on the back of that?
It's because it's a wind-up. It's
Mhm.
a wind-up minion.
Okay, I was just looking.
Wait, so you have to wind the 12 up periodically? This is
Anyways, going back to
Lewd
Nalthal. Going back to
Hey, I
Nalthal
didn't
and
mean it
not
like
the
that.
voice. Not the voice this time. So Nalthal.
Yeah,
the
don't.
actual-
I'm staying out of the voice discussion.
I've
I
quite
found
whined to you.
Nalthal. I found Nalthal a bit confusing at first, but then I realized that you have to check in which form they are, which they clue in with the dialogue bubbles, and they tell you which one of them is doing the attacks, and then the mechanics play out like Kefka in Omega. That one
Yes.
is false and the other one is true.
I just do the
It's
colors.
also easy to remember which is which when you look at the fire on top of their head, which is different.
Or the sky.
Alex in
I
chat,
think-
you're banned. I'm kidding. The true voice actors were the friends we met along the way.
Oh my god. So one thing I think is really interesting is the scale mechanic, which I fail. But it's just really cool because I just finished watching Moon Knight and they're doing the same thing there. But I just think it's a really cool mechanic where you have to balance the scales or you wipe.
Oh, so you can actually fail that mechanic.
skill
Oh yeah,
thing-
yeah, you
the
can
skill
fail.
thing
it.
is
I've had
easy
it
to do.
happen. Yeah, it's actually quite easy to do.
Yeah, the scale thing is easy to do if you know how it works. One ad is the weight of an entire party. If everybody goes to the opposite side of their ad, it is guaranteed to work.
Oh.
The reason I know that it's easy to screw up is because one of the times I was a clone, my clone died on the golden side of the arena, but the other two died on the other side, and everybody piled onto that side. There was too many on that side.
Rip.
See,
Yeah, I
was just
haven't
not sure
seen
where the
it
line
fail
is.
yet, so I was like, are we just accidentally doing this correctly every time? Or
The answer
like,
is
what's
yes.
going on?
I was shocked because I thought it would be like, damage, like heavier damage or something. No, it's a full wipe because I wiped a party once because I went on the wrong side. It was just me on the wrong side and I wiped the whole raid.
Damn.
So yeah, Jenny Flynn in chat. Ayumi's in chat. JFC, the level of thirst in here. So Jenny said, if he takes his skirt off, it's null, and he'll be doing the opposite of what you'd think.
I mean, the thirst can be justified in game. It's a desert god. Of course, it will be thirst.
That's right. You get it.
That is true.
You understand.
He's also rich.
That too.
I mean, that's another bonus.
I mean,
Sugar daddies.
but but at the same time, the whole balance thing is like Sophia, but 1,000 times over, and it's like, well, at least here there's not meteors trying to knock me off of the fucking platform. But...
Sophia also had a very small arena relative to the mechanic. You were meant to, like, you mess this up and you are off the map.
Yeah.
So I think this is really interesting that Nalthal is the deity of trade and commerce, but Gridania on their banner has the caduceus, which is the symbol of trade and commerce. I just thought that was a really interesting disconnect between those two.
Oh, that's another connection that people were saying about Nald and Hermes was that symbol.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
The caduceus stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People get the two snake one and the one snake one confused a lot. Two snakes is huge.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what
that
Hermes
was the
has.
distinction other people pointed out was, yeah, it's not quite.
Well, it doesn't help that America has messed it up so many times that the single snake one has now become this it's been accepted as the symbol of healing when it's not.
Especially because people see it in like the context of pharmaceuticals all the time, and they're like, "Oh, it must be the same thing."
That's because hospitals are here to make money.
It's because you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
So if you see a hospital with a caduceus, don't go in there. Go to the one with the rod of Asclepius.
Arden with the
At
double
very least, they
entendres
don't know their
again.
symbols.
This is
Jenny-
what happens when I'm stuck in DPS queues because I'm leveling machinist and everything is horrible.
Oh, I just hit
Ooh,
90
there's
with
a Christmas
machinist.
snake.
So, Jenny just said in chat, to be fair, most of the fandom is wishful thinking right now to get their favorite Ascian or Ancients back, and it's wonderful, and I can't wait to find out which way Square Enix is going to throw it.
That's totally fair.
It is fair, and I'm not saying we won't get them. I think the teaser with Hythlodaeus was pretty clear, and perhaps even Hades, but I do think it will cheapen the blow if they keep bringing these people back. You can't just bring your popular characters back repeatedly. It's going to lose its power.
On that note, I would
Leave it
personally
alone.
be completely fine if they never brought either of them back. I'm happy to just let them be like, just let them have a rest finally.
Yeah,
Let them
it's time
rest
for
and
Elidibus to get the
let other characters on the
yeah,
stage.
let Elidibus get the stage since he's gotten shafted like
And
how
if
many
we're gonna
times behind the
have-
silk?
Yeah, and if we're gonna have other Nassians, let it be the ones we haven't seen really.
The missing
at all.
ones,
Let
yeah.
them have a chance.
Indeed.
That's what I say.
He eats all the scions, brings the convocation back.
But I also am worried that they're gonna do like a Harchiphon on us, where they're like, "You remember that time that all your faves died? And you felt really
Yeah.
sad? Well, we're gonna relive Hades dying in all these different contexts for the next 10 years."
I mean, 6.1, both the
emotional
MSQ and freaking Unlocking Myths of the Realm, they're already hitting us with, hey, remember Hades?
Yeah, that was
like,
annoying.
Literally in
No,
the
I
first
forgot.
cutscene, it's like, did you remember what Hades told you to do? You know, remember?
See, yeah, to me
Anyways,
that means
there's gonna
that's what we're
be-
getting of him.
There's gonna be a Shadowbringers ultimate along the lines of like Dragon Song at some point,
Certainly.
I imagine, and it's gonna involve him, and they're gonna just use that as cheap shot.
It's going to be him and Elidibus.
Oh,
back
God.
to the
I will be dead.
12, and
Yes.
I think we're going after. Are we done with Nalthal? Are we going after the epilogue?
Yeah, I think we can go
They-
into the epilogue.
And they reveal that they basically bamboozle us, and they're not after dominating the world, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
They're like, psych, we just wanted to meet our kids.
Foolsies!
And then Azema is like, oh, it hurt me to say those things to you, but, here's some aftercare.
and
The
then
more
she
that
meets-
they,
Did
Yeah.
you say
and then
aftercare?
she and
the
then she
more that
pokes,
they were,
and then she pokes fun, and now felt that you're a unusually high person, and like, well, they're like a death god. What do you expect Nalfel to be?
Mm-hmm.
he's very cheery and encouraging for a death deity.
And
I mean, you can't spell funeral without fun.
True.
yeah, well, and and then they're like, I don't actually remember what exactly was the deal. They say something that they wanted to check out and stuff, but they're very ambiguous about that. Like, what is that exactly? And I also have to say, I don't remember if they addressed this, but they only came out after Heidelin and Zodiac were out of the picture, which is the excuse they use for their world domination initial proclamation, but may have something to do after all.
It makes me feel initially like kind of like the Loperates were an emergency backup plan. Maybe the 12 are also kind of like a backup plan for some reason, like for some purpose that once Heidelin and Zodiac are gone, break glass.
So
For-
one of the things that I was thinking about was Midgardsormr became steward of the star, but there was no way for Hydaelyn to know that Midgardsormr was coming, so she needed someone to help out. Cue the 12.
Right.
Yeah, it's frustrating me because I really want to know more about the origin, and they very, very thoroughly, they've given us only the slightest hints, and so it's really wide open, which is cool, but it's also like I want to know.
At the same time, I'm kind of interested to what extent the 12 know the whole shebang, because if they're presundering deities, I mean, I may be wrong, but I'm not sure if they would be so chill about the entire sundering. Like, for example, there's no 12 in the shards. So
Yeah, actually, I very much agree with that as well. I hadn't really thought about the sundering angle, but I was like, well, we only have these myths on the source.
Yes.
Yeah, as far as we can tell, the
Yeah.
first was a lot simpler in their mythologies to some
Mhm.
extent.
Yeah, we don't really know too much about the mythologies of the first. A lot of it was wiped out in the flood.
We have the Ronkin
That is
stuff
true.
and the Church of the First Light, basically.
And that's it.
that's also because
And
I mean,
poison
that's also
people.
because the part of the first we get to Rome is actually quite limited and basically post-apocalyptic. We
True.
only get to roam around Norvrand, and we get a bit of a glimpse of the Roncan deities, but just if you do the side quests. I mean, the areas on the Kitana Ravel are named after these big. They have like 5 gods, 5 important gods. But otherwise, there's no. I mean, it seems like as if the shards are completely cut short from any 12 influence.
So when
Yeah,
are we
well-
getting an Egyptian raid series and have to
Yeah.
fight 700 something gods?
Oh my god.
So
Well, that would be fun though. I love Egyptian stuff.
Same.
just want to address
I mean,
Bahamut's comment really quick in the chat, if that's okay.
Go for it.
The inhabited part of the first not annihilated is like smaller than the Eorzea region. I'm not sure if you can say that because it's based on Eorzea and you have all the various different zones.
missing El Amigo.
And again, the gameplay zone that we actually, the place that we're actually playing in is not to scale, right? Like I mentioned earlier with Chocobo Racing, if you go into Holdminster Switch, you see how big the world really is. And the expanse of farmland and the mountains in the distance and the vast forests. So because geographic scale is hand-wavy, as mentioned before, I would say it's arguable that it's at least the same size or at least that we don't really have a basis to say it's smaller.
Thing with Lakeland is that it's basically the same as Mordona.
Right.
And Mordona is a bit of sketchy because there's Mordona and then there's Yafaim, and Yafaim is adjacent to Mordona.
That's right.
So Holdminster switch. So it could be Lakeland. Could be just we're understanding Mordona as just this circly area thing with Silver Tier Lake in the middle, but it's actually that zone is, if we want to get specific, it's Mordona, it's Yafaim, and I think Gartano is also around there.
Yeah, and in case the chat isn't quite following, Yafaim Saltmoor is wiping City of Mach. So that whole area, as you fly in on the airship, and the size of the dungeon is the true scale of that Saltmoor, which we cannot get to open air. It's treated as an alliance raid. One of my big criticisms of Final Fantasy XIV, to be honest, is that these huge areas are locked behind dungeons and raids. But if you keep an eye out, you can see how massive the world really is versus the symbolic representation we're actually playing in on a day-to-day basis. They're different.
Yeah, like Zelphatal, which is like a fifth of Eorzea.
Yeah, Zelphatal is huge, and we got a dungeon, so...
and Somal, which is the highest peak on Eorzea.
On top of which is the Churning Mists, which is a scaling issue in itself.
Yeah. I
And
want housing in the
Sea of
Saltmoor.
Clouds. And the Sea of Clouds, which another part of it is that the cursed dungeon of Neverreap.
Yeah.
So,
But anyway, that is a huge tangent. Thank you for allowing me to address it.
so yeah, that's the thing, and they decide to try. I just find the 12 being. I mean, it's when we go and try and see the different zones in which I mean, people has built shrines to them, and we go to Ralgar's Reach for example, and that's when Byrgot and Ralgar come in their animal forms and explain that it's pretty close because here sometimes they can actually glimpse us, and it's like, oh, okay, so. First, that also made me think of the whole issue with Amdapor and the fucking senator statues, I recall, which is like, so people were actually glimpsing other realms. This maybe doesn't mean only the Phantom Realm, but the shards themselves. And considering the entire patch was based on shard hopping, so to speak, because that's what the void is. Yeah, kind of.
That, and also Emmett saying you should check out the shards because you would be surprised what you might find there.
That too.
Yeah.
But at
I'm
the
sure
same time,
I'm sure he didn't mean go to the void first.
Yeah, but I mean, then he's like, "But have you been to the ruins of the bounty?"
Look, if he didn't think the Warrior of Light was going to the void, then he's just in denial.
Here,
Yeah.
go fix our first.
Not
goal.
like that. And we're like, no, we're gonna go. We got this.
Addressing
How about
Zombie
you go-
Zanetta's comment about Xenos, I think that the existence of his void scent back on the 13th is the final nail in the coffin. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, but we never. But it's actually true that we never knew what exactly is seen as a saboteur or what kind of poison it was. They said, I may recall that in Walker they said that it was important, but there was no reasoning until we got to 6.1, and then all of a sudden we got seen as a saboteur, like thinking for itself or acting on its own, which is one of the reasons that reaffirms me to not judge the writers until an expansion is done, because it's like we were kind of. I mean, it's legitimate, of course, to question some questionable writing choices, but yeah, well, I'm not sure if I'm making sense.
I wanted to back up to something we discussed a little bit last week, just to rehash it since it's actually that week this week. You began to touch on it, but the fact that the Phantom Realm clips into reality under certain etherological conditions. We were discussing our representations of the 12 and how they're strangely accurate, and if they had been primals, one might expect that the explanation is rather simple, right? We have the myths and we summon them, and here they are. They look exactly like we imagined because we were the ones who created them. But the opposite notion is what's actually in play, right? Where they existed, people glimpsed this god realm and somehow got all the information they needed about visual aspect and their interpersonal relationships. This is all like a very deep pull, and I don't know quite how to feel
I don't
about
know,
all of this.
Like, yeah,
knowledge.
like how would they have known the relationships between all of them?
Like,
just
yeah, these two are dating.
waiting?
How did you know that? By seeing them.
How did you
I
know
saw 'em
that?
kissing.
Oh my.
Did you invent that and they followed your invention, or was that already true and they told you and they had just
I
haven't
mean,
revealed
one
that
could
they told
say.
you?
One could argue that as it always happens with every mythology, people come up with this sort of thing naturally. But I have to debunk myself in this by the fact that they got somehow that Byrgot was Ralgar's disciple. So yeah.
Well, so I think I might have answered my own question if I can take Neela and Arden's giggles as any as any marker. Yeah, so you looked into the Phantom Realm at the wrong time.
So
Yep.
I do have something to add to this, which is that just because it usually happens during a calamity doesn't mean that it's a limited time frame. Some of the calamities lasted years. So there would have been plenty of time for people to find the Phantom Realm, interact with it before, the calamity passed and access was cut off again. So they would have had time to learn, especially in the second Umbral calamity. That lasted, I think, a little over a year.
See, my concern is the potential for this to be indicating that we're going to have another calamity coming.
Oh no, what
now
a
it's
shame that would
visible
be.
again.
Yeah,
Right.
rejoining. Oh, nobody wants that.
Oh, that natural rejoining we've been talking about.
Uh-huh.
Nature reasserting itself.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, we're associating calamities with ethereal imbalance, but that doesn't mean that for some whatever reason, any other sort of alteration may happen outside the calamities. Like, for example, I mean, it's not an exact example, but planar fissures are void gates that appear naturally. So, and up until this point, we thought that all all void gates had to be opened artificially. So, if a planar fissure can happen between shards, then why not this sort of natural phenomenons happening could outside of calamities could happen, like, for example, in the Far East, going a bit outside, the whole fight against Koryu with Tencent and the Four Lords. Do you think something like that wouldn't cause notable reaction or disruption in the ether? Maybe of course more intense in the Far East, but at the same time relevant to all of Etheris. I don't know if it makes sense.
I'm just still wanting to know the precise mechanism by which the sundering works. I've long held theory that that her energy was actively holding the shards apart, in which case her death could cause them to start coming back together, but honestly, who knows?
And the amount of ether that was released by Zodiark's demise, like,
Yeah, that's gonna cause things to be interesting. I mean, it's
Yeah,
good.
with both
I
of
mean,
them
No matter what.
it could be one of the reasons now that the ether that made Zodiark and it's returning to, and all of that is returning to Etheris. It makes sense because I guess too. Like I guess that may have been one of the reasons the Phantom Realm has appeared now, and people can pass through it. Because do we know if people have actually passed into the Phantom Realm aside from glimpsing it before this moment?
There's no canonical proof that has occurred so far. All we've gotten
Yeah.
is
I
the
wouldn't
idea of
expect it
glimpses.
because I feel like they'd get kicked
There-
out. But I don't
But it's
Right.
possible, right? If we were walking in
There's-
now, it is possible.
The
There
12,
is-
12 just alluded to.
But we're being led by someone suspicious, which is why I counted unlucky.
Yeah.
So there in the epilogue, when we're talking to them in Hawk and Spriggan form, he said that they explained that a few have glimpsed at least a part of the realm, but haven't gone as far as Derrick exploring it. There have been parts. There have been times where the Phantom Realm would become visible due to fluctuations in the ether after calamities. So people would
Calamities
be
and similar fluctuations.
in similar yeah, and people would be able to see them, if only for a brief moment, which they have, but they never actively went on to explore it.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
That is only what the text said.
Akira, I believe what they said is that people are Akira, I believe what they said was people are peeking in or seeing in. I don't remember anything being said about them going in.
No, that's
Minor
what
but
I mean.
important
Just like they glimpsed it for a brief second and it's gone. Which is why the gods would not try to intervene in affairs. For other reasons, which are still unknown to us.
Yeah, I still do have beef with this whole notion. This happens to me a lot where kind of just look at what's happening on screen and the characters involved and asking why they didn't do something. And as players of a game that we didn't make, we often just have to say that's what the story is being told is, so deal with it. But
I think
the
it's
same
relevant.
point, like the end of the world and the universe seems like they should have peeked out a little sooner if they could have. I don't know. I'm sorry guys, but why are you sitting on your hands? I just want an explanation.
mean,
it doesn't have to be that.
I thought they were your protectors.
Right. I want an explanation. It could even be just one sentence. It's okay. I just want something in canon to explain why they didn't hang out, because
Especially because like they were right there above everything going on during Silvertier, for example. They're just chilling.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it might have. I mean, they may have thrown that line like an argument for their initial threat that was just for spurring us, but maybe it had something to do with Hydaelyn and Zodiac.
So I go ahead.
So, like for example, let's take that Hydaelyn becomes the will of the Star, and with her being a creation of stasis, maybe that holds the 12 at bay from and prevents them from somehow. If they're actually the true gods of the star, they were basically usurped in front of their noses, so to speak, even more than could be about Zodiac, which was originally made for that. Which they could be facing two usurpers here, in fact, that tie their hands. But because I have the vague memory that at some point was addressed that the 12 answer to Hydaelyn. For some reason, I may be wrong here, but I mean, it's kind of weird if you ask me. But anyways. But I think another thing that's actually important to keep in mind is that it's mentioned during the story quest that of course the Warrior of Light remembers that Emmet Selk mentioned the 12 and their three identities. So of course Graha and Kryl, I think it was at the time, they infer correctly that of course he knows something about them. I don't know if that's truth, but certainly more than we do know at the time. So if that doesn't make them connected to the ancient in some way, I'll eat my tablet. But
don't do that. It'll kill you.
well, it would kill me, and it would prevent me from working. So
yeah. Well, we are at wrap time, so I'm happy to cede the floor for any final thoughts, but we should begin to close.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, but Derrick.
That happens.
But Derrick.
Derrick.
I love how almost normal his name is, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he seems like a nice guy. I don't have a problem with the guy. He's just suspicious as hell.
He's
He's
just
cute,
sus.
but he's sus.
He's sus.
Mm-hmm.
Sussy little baka.
Oh my god.
he literally resembles the arrow card. I mean,
Quite a bit, yeah.
That and then like
What's that meme
freaking
about?
ending his name the same way Althic is ended. It's like,
Yeah.
how can I not suspect things?
Yeah. I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Any astute player will notice things.
Yeah, good writing involves laying hints for your players, your readers to pick up on.
Yeah,
It's
so
not
that they
all
can
about
be
like,
like,
haha, I'm gonna trick you.
yeah, you want your
You
readers
want
to
to feel
be able to
clever.
have like, oh, the
Yes.
Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV meme where it's like, oh, I get that reference.
Because it makes it fun, and you want people to
Mhm.
enjoy your entertainment. I did have one final thought, and I'm just sitting here. When we defeated the first 4 of the 12, I was like, all right, well, that's 4 down, 8 to go, and then they all reappeared, and I'm like, wait, how are we getting rid of these guys? Are they gonna like? I'm just speculation. Are they gonna end up hanging around afterwards? Are they going to be gone for good? Like, I'm very curious. Anyway,
So
Brings them to the 13th with me.
I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Where Ayumi said that the 12 hadn't intervened during Silver Tier, but Koji Fox, remember, said that when the Garlean fleet was coming through Silver Tier, something intervened, a force, which would have been the 12.
oh, I thought it was Midgard's armor.
I thought that was Midgard's armor and the dragon.
No, he said there was something else that interfered, which was a force, not just Midgard's armor.
Oh,
They
do you mean
clarify.
before their attempt that actually made it to Silver Tier? Because there was another attempt that they had where they were turned back by a primal-like force.
Yeah.
North of Alamigo somewhere.
Got it.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe that's it
Hmm.
then.
I see what
Many
you're saying.
questions.
Many questions, hopefully to be
Indeed.
answered in the future.
Hopefully.
All
All
right.
I
left
mean,
to
the whole
interpretation.
thing, anyways, is that we are going about something in Silvertail Lake, but the Omphalos is above Silvertail Lake. They are still not addressing what's fucking under Silvertail Lake,
Nope.
which
We'll get
may be
there.
related to may be related after all to the raid, anyways, because I see a clear parallel with Pandemonium, with Elpis being above and Pandemonium being below, and this is basically the same instance, the way I see it.
And further,
Well-
let us not forget the 12 wonders in Elpis.
Yes.
Mm.
So
With 12 little garden
climate control.
circles.
yeah, I imagine my imagination on the 12 at this point is that perhaps they behaved as kind of, so Heidelin is a stasis primal and she's guarding the planet, but maybe she needs a force that can manifest each of the elements to keep the planet together, or the shards together. Just something, because it's all of the elements, umbral and astral aspects. I think they may have a role in maintaining the stability of the laws. It's just a thought.
Which would be interesting because the 12 Wonders in Elpis is the climate controls, as I started to mention.
Right.
Not really important, but like, is something holding this poor world together?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're spot
Is
on.
something holding the shards apart?
Did Heidelin foresee that her passing would undo what she did, and she wanted to prevent that from being the case?
I mean, that is her, like, AI style charge to do that, basically. So it would make sense.
I broke the world, and I want it to stay that way.
Yeah.
All right. So, and well, that pretty much wraps up our show. Next week, do we have any plans for next week?
We're at that awkward stage now where we are out of current content. Hasn't happened for a long time.
We finally got through it all.
So
Yes.
we will have to discuss on the side. If you have any opinions or interests, please feel free to @ us on Twitter,
And
at
in Discord.
lorelinesxiv, and to please join our Discord, and feel free to talk there as well. I'll put the link. Never mind. Thank you, Bonnie.
We could just play Among Us
Yeah, side game day.
and literally play Derrick being sus.
That would be funny.
Yep.
Just
Oh,
make a
I
bunch
made
of Derricks running
mistake.
around.
Derrick!
Derrick. All right, we'll close up shop here, guys. Thank you all for coming. Please come next week. And we look forward to being with you. So we'll have an update as to what we're covering pretty soon, I hope. And yeah, this has been Lorelines.
Catch you later.
Thanks
See-
so much for coming out, all.
Take care, everyone.